as fast as possible, but let me tell you something most people won't say out loud. Starting a business while you're broke might actually be the reason you stay broke longer. And before you disagree with me, just listen to the full idea first, because I'm not talking about giving up on success. I'm talking about timing, pressure, and survival. Everyone online makes it sound simple. Start a business, sell something, get customers, make money. But nobody really explains what happens when you try to do that with no capital, no experience, no stability, and no backup plan. That's where reality hits different. Because in real life, business is not motivation, it's pressure. And if you don't understand this early, you might waste months or even years trying to force something that was never ready to work. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what I would do instead if I had to start from zero today. And it's not what most people expect. Why start a business advice is half-truth. Let's be honest. The start a business advice isn't wrong. It's just incomplete. Because yes, business can change your life. But what people don't tell you is that business has a hidden requirement. Stability. Most people hear, start now, don't wait, just begin. But they don't hear, can you survive 3 to 6 months without results? Can you handle uncertainty without quitting? Do you have money to keep going when nothing is working? And that's where the problem starts. Because if you're broke, you're not starting from a neutral position. You're starting from pressure. And pressure changes how you think. It makes you rush decisions, panic easily, quit early, chase fast money instead of smart money. So when people say just start a business, they're not lying. They're just skipping the hardest part. The real reason most broke businesses fail. Let me break something down clearly. Most businesses don't fail because of competition. They fail because of emotional breakdown under financial pressure. Here's how it usually goes. Someone gets an idea. Clothing, food, small importation, online business. They're excited at first. They invest small money. Then reality hits. No fast sales, no quick growth, no immediate results. And suddenly, maybe this is not working. Maybe I chose the wrong idea. Maybe business is not for me. But the truth is not that the idea was bad. The truth is they weren't prepared for delay. Because business rewards consistency over time. But broke people need results now. And that conflict kills motivation, not failure. Pressure. What happens when you start too early? Let's talk about something nobody likes admitting. Starting a business too early can actually make you worse financially. Why? Because you start spending money you can't afford to lose, learning through expensive mistakes, running experiments without experience, and expecting fast returns in a slow system. So what happens? You don't just lose money, you lose confidence. And once confidence drops, everything becomes harder. Even simple decisions feel heavy. That's why some people start businesses and end up more stressed, more broke, more confused. Not because business is bad, but because timing was wrong. So if I was starting from zero again, I would stop thinking like this. What business should I start? And start thinking like this. What can I build that gives me income first? Because income changes everything. Even small income. Because once money starts coming in, even if it's little, your mindset stabilizes. You stop rushing decisions. You stop panic thinking. You start building with clarity. And clarity is something broke people rarely have, not because they are incapable, but because survival takes over their thinking. So the first goal is not business. The first goal is breathing space. What I would do instead. If I was broke today, I would focus on one thing. I would focus on building something that already has demand, not theory, not hype, something practical. There are 3 things I would focus on. 1, skills that generate income, because the fastest way to escape pressure is to get paid directly for solving problems. Examples: editing videos, designing graphics, writing content, managing social media. You don't need a shop. You don't need inventory. You don't need big capital. You just need a skill someone values. 2, digital income sources. This is where a lot of people ignore opportunities. Things like YouTube content, freelancing online, managing pages, affiliate marketing. These don't require big money to start, but they require consistency, and over time they build momentum. Team, small cash flow systems. Not everything has to be big. Sometimes you just need something simple that brings small but steady income. Services, small gigs, basic reselling. helping people with tasks. The goal is not to stay here forever. The goal is to stabilize your life. Because once you stabilize your income, everything changes. Why cash flow is more important than business. Let me explain this clearly. Cash flow is not just money. Cash flow is emotional stability. When you have no money coming in, every problem feels like a crisis. Every delay feels like failure. Every mistake feels like the end. But when money is coming in, even small, you start thinking long-term. You stop rushing decisions. You start improving instead of panicking. That's why cash flow comes before business. Because business without stability is just stress. And stress kills consistency. And consistency is what makes business work. Let me be clear so nobody misunderstands me. I'm not saying don't start a business. I'm saying don't start from desperation. Because desperation leads to bad decisions, fast quitting, poor planning, emotional thinking. But stability leads to better strategy, smarter risk-taking, long-term thinking, real growth. And there's a huge difference between those two paths. One feels like survival, the other feels like progress. So if I was broke today, I would not rush into starting a business. I would focus on building income first, even if it's small, even if it starts slow. Because once I have stability, everything else becomes easier. Business becomes easier, risk becomes easier, growth becomes easier, and that's the part most people skip. They want success without foundation. But the truth is simple. You don't build a strong house on weak ground, so build the ground first. Then build everything else after.